What's up, Radiant Souls? If you're new here, this is a safe space for like-minded individuals who prioritize wellness, okay? So that could be mental wellness, emotional wellness, financial wellness. We just want to be well in all aspects of life, right? So, y'all, why did an epiphany come to my brain today? When people make certain mistakes and they feel like they're a bad person, it comes from them being rooted in shame and guilt. And shame and guilt will hold you back from reaching your full potential because it really is a thief of joy. It really makes you feel like a bad person because you've made some bad choices. Like you'll literally be feeling like you're not who you are because shame and guilt, it's like shackles on your ankle. It's like weights being on your ankle. And every time, every step you take is like, it's harder and harder to take, and then the more things that you accumulate that you're ashamed of, it just makes you sadder and sadder and sadder. And I'm telling you, that's no way to live. What kind of quality of life is that to have, like carrying that amount of shame and guilt? So forgive yourself for the things that you've done in the past that you're not proud of, okay? Forgive yourself for how you let yourself down. Forgive yourself for how you disappointed others around you, okay? Truly have grace and mercy for yourself because you're human. And God said if we didn't sin, he would replace us with the people who did. So like you have to truly have the same grace and mercy you have for everybody else. You got to have it for yourself. And just take accountability for the role you played in your own suffering. If you feel like certain things you went through were a direct result of, the bad decisions that you made, acknowledge it. But other than that, it's no point in shaming and guilty. You're a good person. Just because you did a bad thing don't make you a bad person. I used to think I was a bad person because growing up, I was always made to feel like I was the bad thing that I did. So like, and then my mom always assumed really bad things about me. So like, one time I took the bus home from school, and when I got home, I took a nap, and my mom, she went to pick me up that day, and it was a miscommunication. I don't think I had my phone, so it was a miscommunication. So she comes home, and I'm at home, and I'm sleeping and in my room, and then she asked me if I'm on drugs, and I'm like, no, I'd never done any drugs at that point. I was like 15. I was literally just sleeping by the fan. So I'm taking an after school nap, and she comes in and she accuses me of some. I always felt guilty. I'm telling you, like she just accused me all the time. She used to call me a liar all the time. And I think that, when someone constantly treats you like you're wrong in every situation or everything, she never believed me. Like I'm telling you, she always assumed the worst about me. I walked around like I was always guilty. Like I kind of carried this endless guilt with me, like, okay, like I have to prove that I'm innocent. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. But anyway, I realized my beliefs of guilt and shame came from childhood. And then when I actually did make a mistake, it was like she doubled down on, like, see, I told you, like she overdid it. Like, so I was just taught to carry shame and guilt for me simply existing, even when I didn't do anything wrong. So when I did make a mistake, it made it even worse because I'm like, oh no, I have to hide this because she's already assuming the worst about me in every way. And in my adult life, it was really a burden. It was really like ruining the quality of my life because it was like I couldn't just exist freely as a human. I had to try to be perfect. I had to try to be performative. And then when I did fall short, it hurt me so much. I was ashamed to even face the things that I failed at, and I wouldn't even acknowledge it. Even if I hurt somebody else, sometimes I wouldn't acknowledge it because I was ashamed of the pain that I caused. So until I went back and healed that little girl inside of me, I wasn't really able to be, I wasn't able to be my best self or my most conscious self because I was carrying like guilt and shame that just didn't belong to me. I realized like, hold on, you're not a bad person because you did a bad thing. Even if you mess up once, that doesn't make you, if you lie once, that doesn't make you a liar for the rest of it. I just kind of realized like, hold on, like nobody's perfect. And like these restrictions and the mentality that I have comes from my childhood. So I had to start healing that inner child inside of me. They're called core wounds. So like if you have rejection wounds, if you have abandonment wounds, if you were verbally abused, there's certain wounds that we have from childhood, and we have to intentionally go inside of ourselves and heal, like truly try to heal and speak life into ourselves in the spaces where we were neglected and actually live a more conscious, aware life where we're, holding space for ourselves in totality for who we are. Because oftentimes when our parents were in survival mode, they didn't hold space for us in totality for who we are. They probably beat us up, or not physically, but just emotionally. Like they don't even know how to regulate their emotions. So I feel like every generation should get better. And I came from, my mom's a baby boomer, and a lot of the baby boomers, they weren't emotionally intelligent. Like when we made mistakes, they didn't sit us down and they weren't like, okay, this is why I'm upset. Blase. It wasn't it wasn't explained like, okay, it's the principle. No, it was just like, you make a mistake, you get beat. That's pretty much that my childhood. Like if I made a mistake, I'm getting beat. If I made a mistake, I'm getting severe, super harsh consequences. And I think that sometimes when that happens, you don't learn the greater lesson as to why. Like sometimes if you teach your kids why something's wrong, or like what, how big of an impact that has, they can learn. But a lot of people get arrested development, meaning like their development might stop when they're 8. So it might be an 8-year-old emotionally inside of a grown-up's body, because something traumatized them, and then they just stopped being emotionally available in certain ways at a specific age, and now they're operating out of the emotions of a child. And unless they go back and intentionally nurture that child that was neglected and frozen at that point in time, your quality of life is never going to improve, or increase. So you don't gotta beat yourself. Ain't nobody perfect, and we all go through certain things. So shame and guilt, again, those aren't they're healthy for short periods of time. It's not healthy when you carry it for years and years. Like it's okay if you do something wrong, it's okay to be like, that I shouldn't have did that. Like that's horrible that I did that. But immediately you have to be like, okay, I'm a human. I'm not going to beat myself up, but I'm also going to take accountability for what I did, and I'm not going to repeat that behavior. And if I affected somebody else, I'm going to apologize. Move on. Like God said, he said if we didn't sin, he would replace us with the people who do sin. So you got this. You got this. And you truly got to be the same. That relationship that you have with self is so important, guys. You have to treat yourself with kindness, with compassion. You have to treat you like you're a human, because you're a human too. Like the same way you would treat your child, I feel like sometimes you have to reparent yourself and treat yourself that way, because especially if you come from traumatic backgrounds where your parents were not emotionally intelligent, they didn't give you proper coping mechanisms, and then don't add financial strain in there where they couldn't barely pay for stuff and they had to get, don't add, the just all the other core wounds that we could have that come from our parents in there too. So I just feel like, give yourself grace. It's no point beating yourself up. It's not going to make your life better. Hating yourself is not going to make your life any better, because when you have too much shame and guilt, you start to like really not like yourself and subconsciously feel like you're not worthy of the good things that life has to offer. But you are worthy of the good things that life has to offer. You do deserve the good things that life has to offer. And you truly have to start to believe that, not from a place of arrogance, but just from a place of you being God's creation. You're a soul and a body. You're rich in spirit. Like it ain't nothing worse than being poor internally. Like you can always get you some money back, but you don't ever want to go spiritually bankrupt, But I feel like I've been spiritually bankrupt at certain points. So it ain't never too late to redeem yourself. But I'd rather lose money than lose myself. You feel me? I can always get some money back. I can't get the essence of who I am back. And that's why you have to pour into you and love you and reparent you, right? Like the ways that you were neglected. So I wrote an ebook, a somatic healing and affirmation ebook with journal prompts it's like a 30-day ebook. So you read a page a day, and then you do the affirmations and the journal prompts, and it's $9. It's in my bio on YouTube. If you guys are interested, it's on Amazon Kindle. You can direct download it to your phone. But nonetheless, we got to start reprogramming our subconscious mind. We got to start release the shackles of the imprisonment mentally we were put into, because we weren't taught how to properly cope with life, and we weren't taught how to properly love ourselves truly. Because we be thinking loving ourselves means, oh, I'm gonna get my hair done, I'm gonna get that's cute, you look good. I'm not saying don't do that too, because the way you look is a reflection about how you feel about you, but the real work comes from reprogramming your mind, living more consciously, like living better, so that when you have kids, or if you have kids, you don't perpetuate that same wound onto them. You can't make people feel like they're the bad thing they did. It dims their light. They don't even feel like they could be human. Like when I see people around their parents who are free, to this day, I'm like, wow, like when I see kids dancing around their parents or just being goofy, like I always had to filter who I was around I felt like I had two identities, like who I really am and who she wanted me to be. You feel me? And yeah, like to this day, when I see kids free around their parents, I'm like, that's truly a blessing. So you want your kids to be able to be free around you. You don't want your kids to be walking around with shame and guilt because you didn't do the work. So necessary, to give them the emotional intelligence that you never received, because it takes emotional intelligence to process mistakes, or when things go wrong, it takes a certain level of wisdom for you to process, like, okay, I did do a bad thing, but I'm not a bad person. It takes a certain level of experience or knowledge, like knowing how to like maneuver life. And if you weren't given that and you have to figure it out by yourself, you know how hard it is. And we don't want to perpetuate those same wounds onto other people. And for that is one of the number one reasons why I just knew I wasn't gonna have kids super young, because I knew there was work to. I wouldn't have even been the best version of me. If I did have kids, I would have did the best I could do. But I feel like subconsciously I would have hurt them, because I wasn't healed in certain areas or certain regards. So don't let shame and guilt hold you back. Don't beat yourself up. Just do better. You feel me? Do better. Find a better way to process life's disappointments. You're not the bad thing. You're not a bad person because you did a bad thing. But what makes you a bad person is avoiding accountability, self-sabotaging, and then making the quality of other people's life worse because you refuse to look in the mirror and face yourself. Face yourself. It's power in facing yourself. There's power in you looking in the mirror and being like, you know what, I could have did this differently. You know what, I wanna live more consciously. I don't want to hurt the people I love, or whatever the case is. Like, you ain't gotta beat yourself up. You're valuable. You're worthy. You're a creation of God. Like, He has you here for a reason, and you've been stuck long enough. Your rigid perspectives have kept you stuck. So free yourself. Free yourself mentally. I'm telling you, when you can't be mentally in prison, when you can't be convinced that life is just supposed to be lived in a box, and you start thinking outside the box. Like, if you really are in this world, which is, I always say, the Matrix, and you don't think outside the box, it's like you're living an illusion. Truly be a free thinker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Think for you, and don't compare your life to nobody else's life, and don't compare your timeline to nobody else's timeline, and don't compare your mistakes to nobody else's mistakes, because people hide their mistakes. So if anybody ever finds out about certain mistakes you made, people always want to shame you and hide their mistakes, in the closet, but then scrutinize you for yours. You don't have to do that. Give yourself the grace and the mercy to exist without beating yourself up, okay? But you can hold yourself accountable and do better. Do better moving forward. You feel me? Like, that's really all you could do. Take action to do better. Now, if you're not taking action to do better and you're just perpetuating the same poor behavior, and then you're hurting people with your poor behavior, then it's like, that is something to be ashamed of, because you're not learning from it. You feel me? But if you choose to stop the cycle, no matter how much damage you've done, that's respectable. That you deserve to love yourself for that. You deserve grace for that. You feel me? Because you're actively working to undo the poor decisions that you made. And that's all you can do. You can't go back in time, and you can't cry over spilled milk. All you can do is move better moving forward. You feel me? So you it's not on you, it's in you, and you can do it. And put the shame and the guilt down and live your best life. You feel me? Like, that life that you truly desire is on the other side of you beating yourself up, like, and feeling like you're not a good person because you did a bad thing. Like, you are not a bad person just because you did a bad thing. Okay? And once I learned that, I was like, I'm pretty dope. I'm pretty amazing. Like, there's so many good things about me. So now when I'm in romantic partnership, or I'm in friendship, and I make a mistake, and someone tries to make me feel like I'm a bad person because I made a mistake, it's like, I already know, like, the rigid perspectives they're coming from. Now, if I repeated the same mistake 1,000 times, okay. But if it's my first time making a mistake and you don't have grace for me, it's like, what the hell? I'm not going to be around people like that. So it actually helps you choose people who are safer and more healthy for you, because you have a healthier relationship with self. And when you have a healthier relationship with self, you'll have a healthier relationship with other people. Because even when other people make mistakes, you'll be like, okay, I give grace a few times. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a one-time person again. I'll give you grace. Like, oh, you do the same thing. You only got 3 times to do the same thing to me before I realized, like, okay, I need to put distance between this connection, because this person can't stop. Either they're choosing not to, or they're so unconscious that they can't stop. And in order to preserve whatever love I got left for this person, I'm gonna put some distance between it. You feel me? So it gives me the ability to have more grace for God's creation, which is necessary. People need grace. People need mercy. But you can't give it if you don't give it to yourself. And if you shame yourself, you're gonna shame other people. You feel me? If you beat yourself up for making a mistake, when somebody does something that disappoints you, you're going to do the same thing because you think it's normal, and it's not. And a healthy person is going to run far away from you fast when you do that, because it's like, you're beating them up, and they're not used to that. They see the flaw of your ways when you do that. So don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself, love yourself, but hold yourself accountable. And again, I love you guys. I love you guys. You have a radiant soul that's waiting to be unleashed to the world. So you're not the bad thing you did. And lastly, I have an assignment for you. So make a list of everything good about you and everything bad about you, like all your best qualities and your worst qualities. Rip the worst qualities off and throw them in the trash, and focus on the things good about you and help those things grow in your life. Okay, I'm gonna be dropping a video every single day. Follow me on TikTok at Radiant Souls. And if you're looking for a somatic healing and an affirmations ebook with journal prompts that will help you reprogram your mind, click the link in my YouTube description. Other than that, enjoy your day, beautiful soul.